Hey guys, Lou here from LT's Custom Woodworks. Welcome to the shop. Today, another day, another dollar. Today we're going to get started on a TV stand, and it's going to have a quartz top on it. So the TV stand sits at 32 inches in height, 20 inches deep, and 60 inches long, which is I believe 5 feet. I'm using 3/4 inch plywood, maple plywood, and I'm cutting for the sides and the bottom shelf. Now for the sides, I'm going to be doubling them up. And the only reason why I'm doing it that way is because the customer wanted 1.5 inches thick on each side. So here I'm going to be spreading some glue, a generous amount of glue, spreading it out nice and evenly so I can laminate 2 sheets together. I'm using the end of a glue bottle roller. I didn't want to use the glue bottle itself because I just find it so much easier just taking that piece off and just rolling it with my hands and pouring the glue on the substrate. So here I'm going to be spreading it out nice and evenly. Now these 2 pieces, I did cut it slight bigger. That way I can trim it off on the table saw. I'm going to line it up the best I can, and I will shoot it down with some brad nails to hold it in place overnight. And then of course I will fill in the pinholes. For the bottom shelf, I'm marking 3/4 inch in, and that is where my dado is going to start for my back panel. Back panel, I believe, is 3/16 inch, and I will be doing the same for the sides. I'm setting my blade at 1/4 inch in height. I always use that height. I find that it works perfect. So once I get my blade set at height, I'm going to run each piece through. Then I will kick the fence over a little bit, and I'll keep redoing that until I get the right size for the back panel to fit in nicely. And I find that that's the easiest way. Now for the bottom panel, I'm going to drill some pocket holes, and I will put 3 on each end, and that's what I'm going to use to attach my sides. And I believe 3 is plenty on each side. I'm marking 2 inches on the bottom on each panel, and that's going to be the height where my bottom panel is going to start at. So it's 2 inches. The bottom shelf is basically going to be sitting 2 inches off the ground. And I will be using 1.5 inch pocket hole screws for the bottom shelf. That is the center support. Now I'm cutting my braces for the top, and I'm cutting these at 3 inches wide And as you see, I'm just screwing it in with pocket hole screws. I'm using 1.5 inches on each end. And I will do the same thing to the front. Now I will be running another piece at the back there as well for the top. I tried sliding this panel with this laying down, which I found that it was a little hard. So I ended up standing it up and sliding it in that way. And that is that top support. Now this is being painted, so that's why I used hardy panel on the back. Now I'm cutting my divider in the middle, and this is going to be where the door is going. I'm going to edge band it before I slide it in place, and I'm just edge banding the front piece. I'm not doing the top and bottom because you won't see it, and I'm not doing the back because you won't see it. Sanding the edges down to get a nice fit. Now for here, basically I just used some scrap piece, 20 inches long, because that's the width of the door they wanted. I'm just going to clamp it at the top there, slide that panel up against nice and tight, screw it from the top. I'll take the panel piece off, push it over to the back, do the same thing, and then move it to the bottom. That way you're getting exactly the width you need. Now I'm screwing in the bottom piece. Just going to run 3 screws to hold that center panel in place. This is a good time for me to drill in for my pinholes for my shelf. So I'm just using my jig and drilling in those holes. This is the shelves that's going in the middle on each side. Now these will be edge banded all the way around. I am just going to test fit it to make sure that everything fits good before I edge band. Now normally I would basically build a face frame, screw it together, then pin it and glue it in place, or glue it and pin it in place. This time here I'm not going to do that. I'm basically using stock 3/4 inch maple, and I'm just going to glue it and pin it in place piece by piece. And these are various sizes. The sides are 1.5 inches, top and bottom is 3/4 by 3/4. Now I was running a little short on the top and bottom. I didn't have a long enough piece. So what I ended up doing was mitering it at a 45-degree angle and joining the pieces together. And then of course the pinholes will be patched before paint. After I edge banded the shelves together, and in the front of that one I used stock maple, which is 1.5 inches, and pinned it into place. Now I'm getting started on the door. I'm cutting these at 2¼ inches wide, and it's maple stock, and I'm cutting all pieces before I cut for my panel. I'm going to lower this to 1/4 inch, and same thing what I did on the other pieces. I'm just going to set my fence up run that groove on all the pieces first, slide the fence over, run all the pieces again, and I'll keep doing that until I get that panel to fit just right. And I always do a dry fit before I do my glue up. This is the panel that I'm using, and they wanted a design on the front, and they showed me a picture of what they wanted. So all I did was I set up my my fence, and I made sure everything was all spaced out evenly, and I just scored the front of that panel 1/16 of an inch just to give it a bit of a profile. And I would just slide my fence over, run another cut, and I kept doing that until I got all the way to the other end. Now I'm cutting in for my dominoes, and I'm using 4 dominoes for this glue up. I'm not going to glue in the panel. I'm just going to glue in the dominoes and the ends. The panel I never glue in place, that way it has moisture. There's different moistures in a house, and you need that extra play in that panel for movement. So I did do a dry fit here, and now I'm doing my glue up. This will sit overnight, and then I will sand everything down and install my hinges. Now, of course, the little pinholes that you see on the bottom will be patched the next day. I'm not putting a lot of force on these clamps. You don't need a lot of force on the clamps. Now I'm sanding everything down. All my squeeze out, making sure everything's clean on both sides. I'm using my Kreg jig to install my hinges. This is a lifesaver for me. I love this this jig. I use it all the time. It's quick, fast, and easy. And it takes all your calculations out. I'm screwing the Blum soft close hinges. I'm just test fitting it before priming. Doing all my adjustments, making sure everything is good. Now, the customer came and took a look at it, and they made a few changes on the door. They wanted to add a little bit more of a profile. So they said, let's go this route. So what I did was I took some maple and I cut 3/4 inches by 1/2 inch. And I took the time to space everything evenly. It took me a good half an hour to figure out the proper spaces I need. And here I am using some glue, and I'm gluing all the pieces together, and I'm using 3/16 of an inch spacers in between, and it worked out evenly all the way to the top. I'm making sure that there's not a lot of glue squeeze out, because that's going to be hard to clean up the next day. The next day I sanded everything down nicely and even, and it worked out great. Now I'm getting ready to apply my primer. I'm putting 1 coat of primer, and I'm putting 4 coats of paint. You can get away with 3, but I go really light on my coats when it comes to painting, followed by a coat of lacquer with a 20% sheen. And I'm using a Chemcraft product. Now I'm using my Wagner here instead of my Fuji. I figured I'll pull this out this time and give it a whirl. I haven't used it for a while. And I figured, you know what, let's try something different today. But normally I would spray with my Fuji. Now that everything's dried, I'm putting everything together. Hinges are going in, doors are going on, and then this is getting shipped out. Or customers coming to pick it up later on in the day. They didn't want a handle on the door, so what they wanted was a push to open close mechanism. And that is that. Happy customer. Now I'm moving on to some other projects, and then I have another project to do for that customer later on down the road. But that pretty much wraps it up for this video for today. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.